I'm happy to tell you about my memories of my childhood, my life with your father, raising a family, and also my hopes and dreams for you, my great kids, as well as my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. I was born on January 6, 1925, to my parents, Sophie and Louis Rubin. Both of my parents were born in Europe in a small town called Korchin in Austria. They were childhood sweethearts, and around 1920 my mother's parents decided to come to America. Their names were Gedalia and Peril Davidowitz. At that time, my father also decided to leave his parents, Benjamin and Miriam Rubin, and come to America with my mother's parents. And incidentally, I'm named after my father's mother. My parents were married in New York, and they had 3 children. I'm the middle child. My oldest brother is Jack, and my youngest sister is Beatrice. And when I was around 2 and a half, we moved to Borough Park, Brooklyn. I want to tell you about my mother, Sophie. She was an exceptional businesswoman. She was one girl out of 7 brothers, and while she was still in Europe, at the age of 12, she traveled all over Europe by herself, buying and selling merchandise. When she was married, she still continued with her business. She sold trousseaux to brides. She sold linens and clothes and all things that a new bride would need for their home. I remember we had a very large apartment in Borough Park, and she had a big closet built in her foyer to hold her merchandise so they could see what they were buying. After a while, my mother moved to a store, and we had an apartment above the store. My father, Louis, was a very quiet man. He worked in the dry cleaning business, but after a while, he became a diamond cutter. I guess he didn't like that kind of work, so he went back to the dry cleaning business. Unfortunately, he was very badly burnt in a fire at his factory, so that he never returned again. My mother, being the ambitious business lady that she was, decided to open a store for my father in the Bay Ridge section of Brooklyn, which was about 20 minutes away from her store, and she, of course, did all the buying. Both of my parents had dry goods stores. In case you don't know what a dry goods store is, it's a store that sold ladies' wear, men's wear, children's wear, things that a normal family would need. I have to tell you that I had a very nice childhood. My folks made a living. We weren't rich, we weren't poor. In fact, we weren't even aware that there was a depression, so we were very lucky. I remember horse-drawn carts with vegetables and fruits and asking people to come out and buy from them. I also remember a man coming around asking if they had old clothes to sell. Another man if you needed to do knife shopping. Also, of course, we had the ice man coming to help keep our refrigerators cold, and that's why years ago we didn't say refrigerator, we said ice boxes. My neighborhood was a really very warm and friendly place to grow up in. My parents were very kind and charitable. We had this gorgeous Orthodox shul across the street from where we lived, and I remember my father bringing home people who didn't have a place to go for a Shabbos meal. I was quite a tomboy. I played with the boys stickball in our streets. I don't know, but I had more boyfriends than girlfriends my age. I went to public school for elementary and high school, and after school I went to Hebrew school. I also continued to go to Hebrew High, but that really meant getting up early Sunday morning, getting on a subway, going to New York to take the course. I did that for a while, but then I found the courses very boring, and I stopped that. But I continued helping out at the Hebrew school in my shul, tutoring young kids. For college, I went to CCNY, which is the City College of New York. I was in the first women's class at the Baruch College. I got a degree in accounting there. While I was in college, I made the women's basketball team. In fact, I have a medal to show that I was part of the team. And I think that's where maybe Shauna gets her athletic skills from me. And I'm happy to contribute in some way to her athletic ability. I finished college in 3.5 years because World War II was ending and I knew that the GIs would be coming home. And I wanted to make sure I got a job before they all did. So I did get a job in public accounting, which I loved very, very much. Now I'll tell you how I met your father. Your father was a furrier and he bought and sold raw skins to other furriers to make fur coats. I had a cousin who was also a furrier, and every time he saw your father, he said, "You have to meet my cousin. She's perfect for you." So one day he decided to make a date with me, and he came in a very pouring rain. He was wet, he was wearing his old clothes, he was bedraggled, and when I opened the door, I just looked at him and thinking to myself, what did I get into? But we did go to the ballet, and after the ballet we found that we were very comfortable together. We talked for hours, and we continued dating. After 3 weeks, your father was ready to get engaged, but since I was 22 and he was 32, I didn't even know if I would have gone out with him if I knew his age. However, we did continue going on because I said I needed more time, and after 3 months, we became engaged. After 6 months, we got married on December 21st, 1947, and we had a very nice wedding. We went to Hotel Neverly in the Catskill Mountains for our honeymoon, and we had a lovely life together. By the way, the first date we had going to the ballet was also the last time we went to ballet. In all the times that we were together, I think we just went on our first date because he really wanted to impress me. Before we go further, I want to tell you about Daddy's childhood, which was entirely different than mine. I had a very loving and happy and caring family. Unfortunately, his father died in a tragic accident when your father was 7 years old. Would you believe he was the oldest of 3 children, and he said Kaddish for his father? His mother was left a widow with 3 little kids, and they really had struggled and had a really hard time. She eventually remarried a butcher with 3 children, and the stepchildren really gave her a very hard time. Daddy had to work at odd jobs, so he went to high school at night and he started college at night. Unfortunately, he never did finish college. But Daddy did go into the Army in World War II, and he was in the medical corps under General Patton, and he was well liked by all his fellow soldiers. You'd think that Daddy having such a hard childhood would make him an unhappy adult, but it wasn't so in his case. He always had a smile on his face. He was well liked, had a lot of friends, and people were only too happy to meet him and be a friend of his. He was also a good husband, a loving father, and I'm sure you would all agree with me on that score. Now I want to get back to the beginning of our marriage and the birth of your kids. On September 4th, 1949, Charlie was born, and I became a full-time mother. And believe me, it wasn't easy, because Daddy was away a lot traveling, and when anything important happened, like the kids having a high fever or the boiler breaking, he was never around. Charlie, you were a handful. You always had to be busy. And I remember one time you went on top of the washing machine, you said you were Superman, and you're flying off, and of course you bumped your head real bad. Also, Charlie, you're a late talker and a biter. And I guess you felt that way because you were frustrated that you couldn't get people to understand what you wanted. Charlie, you gave me a hard time, you gave me a run for my money, but I must say it really paid off. You're really now one of the greatest. On November 11, 1952, Barry, you were born. You were a very calm and easygoing baby, a happy baby. You played by yourself. I didn't even know you were in the house. You must have read all the baby books because you knew just what to do. You were very different from your brother, and boy, did I appreciate you. We sent you boys to preschool at our shul where we lived, and when it was time for you to go to elementary school, we sent you to Rambam because we wanted you to continue on religious education. We had no thoughts about sending you to public school at all. On February 8, 1959, Helene, you were born. But when you were born, I was on cloud 9. Remember, my mother was the only girl of 7 boys, and I was sure I'd never have a girl. I would only have boys. So you really were very special to me, and when the boys went away to school, I had you all to my own. That really was one of my happiest experiences of my life, being alone with you when you were little. From Flatbush, we moved to Canarsie, and then in 1962, we decided that we wanted to buy a house, and we ended up in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, which was a very nice community for raising children. Unfortunately, Barry was in an accident then, and it really upset our life for a year or so. I don't want to go into too much detail about the accident, but it was a very difficult time for all of us in the family. He was riding his bike, and unfortunately he was hit by a car and dragged for a while. Barry's leg was very badly injured. We went from doctor to doctor and finally ended up in Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, and they really helped him a lot by putting his foot in a cast so he was able to get around better. Barry, you were such a trooper. With all your operations, with all going to your doctors, with all the time you were spent alone and being homeschooled for a year, you could have been such an unhappy person, but you weren't. You still had a smile on your face. You didn't let anything stop you. You still played sports. You had a lot of friends. And I remember if someone said a joke, I can hear you laughing the loudest. You really were very special, and I'm so proud of you. I can't begin to tell you. I know you kids want to know how we became more observant. What happened when we moved to Fairlawn, we joined a traditional conservative shul because there were no Orthodox shul in the area. But we sent you both to YU, and one day Rabbi Macy Gordon came to the house and said there has to be an Orthodox shul in Fairlawn because you boys go to YU and you should have the same religious training and environment where you live. So Daddy became very active, and he helped start Shomrei Torah, which was the first Orthodox shul in Fairlawn. At home, we originally just kept kosher, but after this, of course, we had to make adjustments. We didn't speak on the telephone, we didn't put lights on, we didn't travel, but it was not a major change because we basically were a traditional Jewish family. So it really wasn't a hard adjustment for us. We helped the shul grow. I helped with the kiddushes on Shabbos and other things. One year they honored us at the journal dinner for all the work we did for the shul. I constantly was involved helping shul. For Frisch High School in Paramus, New Jersey, I did the books for them. And now I'm also very involved in the Young Israel of Sunny Isle, and they just won't let me quit. I guess I never will. I think there's a very important lesson to be learned here. It's very important to be involved with your schools and with your shuls and make sure that they're on the right track and keep strong for the next generation. Our commitment to your Jewish education went further than your schools. We sent you to Camp Morishah and Camp Masad to continue your Jewish atmosphere. And you know, it was a good thing, Helene, that we did, because one summer, that's where you met your future husband, Mayor. So we really did the right thing. Another summer, Barry, you remember you went on USY Wheels tour of the United States. It was a 6-week tour, and we dropped you off at YU, and we were supposed to pick you up at the end of your tour. So 6 months later, I came to pick you up, and I'm looking all over for you. It was crowded. I noticed this kid with wild red hair, and he looked like a hillbilly, and he was looking for his parents. And then it dawned something familiar about you, and it dawned on me that you were my son. So after we found each other, we had a good laugh, and the first thing you did when you got home was go take a haircut. I insisted upon that. Dad and I have always been proud of what you kids accomplished in your life. Each of you have made a success in your careers, and that has made Dad and I very proud of all of you. And each one of you has found the perfect mate. Each one of your weddings was really a very special and outstanding time in my life, and I'll never forget them. Rebecca, you're like a daughter to me. You're such a devoted wife and mother, and now grandmother. You've had many challenges over the years, the kids' diabetes, your own parents' health issues, and you've met them all with such determination, compassion, and a positive attitude. You're really terrific. By the way, I really miss your parents. We had such a wonderful relationship, and we loved traveling with them. Now I want to go back in time to when Ellie was born. It was such a special time for us. First of all, he was named for my father, who had recently passed away. And secondly, with his birth, we became grandparents. And what a joy for Daddy and I to be on all the brises, the birthdays, the bar mitzvahs, the bat mitzvahs, and to see our grandchildren get married and walk down the aisle at their weddings. And I'm hoping and expecting to have more weddings to attend. To see the next generation grow is the greatest joy for me. Barry, you were very lucky to meet and marry Mindy. She's like a daughter to me also, and she's a very special, caring, and considerate person. And the girls are really great. I love when they come to visit me. We do girl talk. They help me straighten out my closets, and there's so much fun. It's a pleasure. I mean, it's exceptional when they come. Mayor and Helene, you're really a special couple, and you raised your boys exceptionally well. Mayor, we knew that you were the one for Helene all those years ago, and I'm so happy to see what a beautiful life you've built together. You're a very supportive husband and a wonderful father. You do so many good deeds, especially for the Israeli soldiers on Purim, and all the work you do for your shul. I'm really very proud of you. Eitan, Noam, and Ezra, you are such great guys. I remember the trips that you boys took by yourselves to visit me. We had so much fun. They are very special memories for me. And as I watch you grow, you've become such terrific kids. And of course, I love being at Eitan's wedding to Ellie, and I hope there'll be many, many more. Helene, I don't know how you do it. You have this very tough job. You run a terrific household. You raise your boys great, and you cook like a gourmet chef. I mean, I love to come to your house. I always find something special that you made, not the plain cooking that I used to do for you. I can't say enough about how proud I am of each and every one of you. I can't say enough to show how much I really love you and are proud of you. Before I go on, I want to tell you about the special times I had with your father without you. We went on great vacations to Switzerland, Hawaii, the Scandinavian country, and of course the many trips to Israel. Those will always remain special memories in my life. Now, Rebecca and Charlie, I want to tell you, when you decided to move to Israel, you know that Daddy and I weren't happy about the idea. But I see that you made a very good life for yourself, and you did the right thing. When the Gulf War was there, I pleaded with you to send the kids back to the States, and Ari said, no, Grandma, this is my home, and I'm not going to leave it. And then we knew for sure that you did the right thing, and your kids are happy there, you're happy there. At this time, I'm really happy for you, and I know for sure that you did the right thing. I'm only sorry that Daddy's not here to see all this. I can't believe that he's gone 14 years. But Charlie, you were here when he needed you the most, and I'm sure by you taking over his critical care at Mount Sinai Hospital, you kept him alive, and he really came back to his old self and was able to attend Morgan's bat mitzvah and had a great time. It was almost as if he wasn't sick at all. He was his really old self. He went all over the place taking his pictures that he loved to do, and it's all because of your taking care of him at the right time. And it was through Dad's tremendous willpower that he made sure that he was here for our 50th anniversary, and I really miss him a lot. I'm very grateful for the family get-togethers, and I really treasure those memories. Our trip to Niagara Falls, our Pesach in Israel with the whole family. To be all together was really amazing. That was a very special Pesach. And when I look at the pictures of all of us together there, I realize how fortunate I am to have such a wonderful family, and how lucky we are to have the opportunity to get together and spend time together. We all get along so well, and the kids all care about each other, which brings me to another special trip. The terrific grandchildren cruise that we took in 2010. You know, we had so much fun together, and I loved watching all of you interact with one another. We had a lot of laughs and such a good time. And while I'm on the subject of the grandchildren, I have to tell you, Ellie, Nina, and Ari, that one of the most amazing gifts that you've given me is to become a great-grandma. And for that, I'm really grateful. Ellie and Carla, your children are so cute, and I love that you got a redhead in your bunch. Nina and Shmuley, I love staying with you when I come to Israel and seeing how you raise your beautiful kids. It gives me so much nachas. Ari and Bruchi, your boys are absolutely adorable, and so are you, and I mean it. And when I look at the dove, I see Ari and all his mannerisms. It reminds me so much of you, Ari. It's very important to be close to your family, your cousins, and to help one another, be kind to one another, and love each other. And keep going on trips. And I plan to go on future trips with you. In fact, at this time, I'm thinking about another one. It's true. As I get to the end of the video, I want to share some of my hopes and dreams for my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. First of all, I think it's important for you to continue the traditions that you learned in your homes. Be good Jews, marry Jews, and be menschs. That's the three most important things that you have to remember. Some of you have asked me for my marital advice. The best thing I can tell you is there's no age limit to get married. The right time for you to get married is when you meet the right person. That's the time to get married. Also, when you meet that person, make sure you have similar goals. Make sure there's chemistry. Make sure you're compatible. Make sure you're willing to give and take, make compromises, and then you'll have a happy marriage. It's important to follow your dreams. When you pick your job or career, make sure you love what you do. If you do that, you'll always be successful. That's another very important point to keep in mind. Be kind and charitable. Be good to one another. Keep your word. Keep your promises. And if you can't say anything nice, it's best not to say anything. I feel that Dad and I have raised you in a home with love and caring and encouragement. And I hope that we were good role models for you, and you will be good role models for your children. And as far as I can see, you're doing a great job, and continue whatever you're doing. Stay close with one another and enjoy all the things that life has to offer you. And I love you all very much, and I'm proud of each and every one of you.